Thank you, Amanda. So my last name is pronounced Bezzarides, just in case you're wondering. I'm going to start right off with a definition just so that we can start kind of getting on the same page. Permaculture is a design system for creating sustainable human habitats and supporting healthy ecosystems. It's also a philosophical approach to sharing surplus with nature and humanity. And I also like this statement by Larry Santoyo that he says permaculture is not something you do, but something that you use in what you do. So it's a tool that we can use to adjust our behaviors and evaluate our behaviors and actions in terms of whether or not they are sustainable. So my background in permaculture started with reading that I was doing to enhance my landscape business, and food in the residential landscape has always been an interest of mine. And I met a fellow in a master gardener class that I was taking who was bubbling permaculture this and that, and you got to check it out. And I started doing some reading and went through the Willamette Valley Permaculture Design Certificate class in 2008, which is a weekend course taught by a bunch of different instructors over, I want to say 3 months, sort of the standard 72-hour certificate class. My work is split roughly into thirds between design and installation of both sort of traditional ornamental landscapes and edible landscapes. I try to incorporate sort of edible and native as much as possible into all of my designs, but certainly I recognize that there are a lot of clients that don't want the full-blown permaculture paradise, but are interested in composting or a rain garden or some raised beds for growing vegetables. And I think that one thing that's really important to remember in making changes is that lots of little baby steps are the way that those changes happen. I mean, yes, there's big leaps, but I think that people are sometimes a little bit turned off by sort of the high pressure, you have to do this. And so I really just try and, as far as my business goes, work with their interests. And like you said in the back row, you have a lot of hidden designs on campus. I try and do that in my, they may not know that this plant feeds the birds and that plant is drought tolerant, but you can incorporate those things into your designs and reduce the maintenance requirements, etc. And that's usually an expressed interest of almost every single one of my clients. Is nobody says I want to pull weeds. they're looking for ways to get more out of their landscape. The concept of permaculture was developed by two Australians in the 70s in response to the oil embargoes that happened then, and also sort of this rising tide of environmental awareness. And they recognize that ecosystems provide a myriad of time-tested examples and highly evolved examples of how we can relate to our environment. Nature's been doing this process of life for a long time and has developed some very neat and very adapted ways of doing business that we can model and take advantage of in terms of how we relate to one another and also how we relate to our environment. So they created this design system modeled after intact ecosystems that combines the best available science with indigenous wisdom. Humans have been around in sort of our basic form for 50,000 plus years. I mean, a long time. So in one sense, we are sustainable. We've been doing what we've been doing for a long time. Certainly there are a lot of concerns about recent past 200 years, let's say, events and in the Industrial Revolution, but I think that perspective is good. We have a tremendous library, if you will, of techniques that are being rediscovered and used now that we used to do and that we used to do for a reason.